I wanted to get to the opt-outs, right? Because not having Kennedy Brooks means not having not just your most prolific running back of the OU or the Lincoln Riley era, but in school history. Like, he had an opportunity to join Adrian Peterson, Samaje Perine, and I want to say like Damon Parker, somebody in there, as being able to rush for 3,000-yard seasons in 3 years, some stupid number like that. And he was averaging 7+ yards per carry, up there with Greg Pruitt for best all time. And then on the other side of the ball, Jalen Redmond choosing to opt out this year does not mean that he doesn't come back next year. It just means he doesn't play football in 2020 for a number of reasons, not the least of which is DUI arrest, battle of COVID. He's had health issues with blood clots in the past. It's just not a good environment for him. And this gives him an opportunity to right himself, come back next year, and probably make himself into what we think is a first-round draft pick. But how do you think those two opt-outs are going to affect OU, not just against Missouri State, but through the course of this year?
Yeah, I think we've both been pretty vocal about just how massive these losses are. And I think if I were to be asked, okay, pick one of the two that would be the most impactful, I would argue it's Jalen Redmond, no question. When you lose your leading sack getter, you lose a top 3 tackles for loss recorder, you lose a guy who can help bail out some of these other pieces of defensive line who are trying to settle in, draw attention away from them. And he's a guy that can honestly help facilitate success in year 2 for Alex Grinch. With that presence gone and Ronnie Perkins still kind of in that difficult situation, I mean, it really leaves it up to like Perion Winfrey right now to step in and fill in for the production of both of those guys. So Redmond was going to be the dude who helps Oklahoma get through that stretch of however long Perkins was going to be out. And he was going to be fairly dominant. I mean, again, the guy had first-round selection written all over him, but now he vacates a position where you really need someone to step up, especially in the heart of that defense now that Neville Gallimore is gone. LaRon Stokes is really going to have to produce this year. I think when you talk about Kennedy Brooks, yes, I have said it time and again. To me, that dude is like a galloping first down. He makes it look like he's jogging in a nice summer's park. But again, like 8.9 yards a carry sometimes in a game is just average for him. And it's a huge loss, but I also err on the side of confidence when it comes to losing an offensive player because of who's calling the plays, right? I mean, Lincoln Riley's going to find a way to scheme guys open and make sure that these young running backs are put in a position to succeed. So as a result, man, both of them are just huge losses. And I think in the grand scheme of things, if you're asking me, okay, which one's really going to hurt Oklahoma moving forward, I would err on the side of Redmond because, man, they just really needed that guy on the defensive line.
I'm not sure which one is going to be a bigger impact because I would be with you on Redmond if Trey Sermon wasn't at Ohio State, right? If you could go 4 deep at tailback, then I would probably go with Redmond because we've written extensively about the depth issues on the defensive line, and we've written somewhat extensively about what the problem is at running back, which is basically you had to do that was suspended, you had to do the transferred, you had to do the opted out. That's 3 tailbacks, right? 3 tailbacks you'd have in a normal year. So I'm interested to see because we have a history of watching OU tailbacks get hurt for missing large portions of the season, can you keep them all healthy? Because I don't think you can. And if you can't, who do you drop back there? Is it Jeremiah Hall? Is it Mikey Henderson? Is it a wideout like Brian Darby, who used to play some running back? Like, what are your options on that front? So I'm going to go with tailback there because a luxury item was Kennedy Brooks, right? Like, that's how he was treated in 2018. It's kind of how he was treated in 2019. This year, you were absolutely going to make him the bell cow and just try to ride him as much as you possibly can because you already knew you were going to be without Ramondre Stevenson for what is turning out to be about 40% of the season. So now that that's no longer true, I'm going to go with tailback. And I would love to be able to say the defensive line because they really need help over there. But I'm going to go with tailback, and I just don't feel like I'm going to be wrong just because law averages says somebody's going to get hurt. Or what do you think?
Well, look, I mean, hey, I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't know exactly what you're talking about, right? I mean, the list goes on and on of key injuries at running back for the Sooners, and time and again it has proven just how important it is to have depth, especially in Lincoln Riley's system at that position. So I think the world of these two guys. I think Kennedy Brooks is sometimes vastly underrated, maybe even a little bit taken for granted, and maybe this season kind of exposes that. And then at the same time, you just sit there and you see a guy like Redmond leave, and you're thinking to yourself, how in the world is this defensive line going to survive without Perkins and that guy? I have no clue. I think Perrion Winfrey is going to really have to step up. And I think those young running backs, like you mentioned, I mean, not only will they have to do their part, but they're going to have to make sure that they're doing their part consistently and staying on the field. So it puts a lot of guys in pressure situations. It's unfortunate all the way around, but at the same time, like I said in the past, I'm never going to judge a guy for making a decision that he feels is the best for his future. It's just in the now and present, guys are going to have to figure it out without him. So we'll see what happens on Saturday.
Goodness, I do not envy them. Except I sort of do, but not really, right? Because I've always thought that, when it's wartime, I'm at my best. Like, quarantine period, it was a good time for me because I was just like, cool, I know how to create utility here. I know how to make myself valuable. Let's do that. And